This is the BBC.
This podcast is supported by advertising outside the UK.
Life is full of what-ifs. Some awesome, like what if AI could fold your laundry? And some, well, less awesome, like what if you have unexpected medical costs? United Healthcare can help get you covered with Health Protector Guard fixed indemnity insurance plans. They supplement your primary plan to help you manage out-of-pocket costs. No deductibles, no enrollment periods, and especially no more what-ifs. Visit uh1.com to find the Health Protector Guard plan for you.
Quality sleep is essential. That's why the Sleep Number Smart Bed is designed for your ever-evolving sleep needs. Need a bed that's firmer or softer on either side? Helps you sleep at a comfortable temperature? Sleep Number Smart Beds let you individualize your comfort, so you sleep better together. J.D. Power ranks Sleep Number number 1 in customer satisfaction with mattresses purchased in-store. And now, save 50% on the Sleep Number Limited Edition Smart Bed for a limited time. For J.D. Power 2023 award information, visit jdpower.com/awards. Only at a Sleep Number store or sleepnumber.com.
BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
He was the star of this soap opera. We were talking, right? And he said, oh, yeah, you were in prison, blah, blah. Yeah, I said, I'm a single parent. I had a son, right? Really? Oh, wow. So this guy goes and he gets me like 2 boxes of lobsters, 2 boxes of steaks, and a case of soda. He's putting all this in my car. I'm like, oh, Steve, And what was funny is that I had worked with like a lot of big stars. And my mom would say, I know, mijo, but get a job. Yeah, I mean, she didn't believe I had a job, right? And then when I did that General Hospital, I swear to God, I go into my mom's house. She got all her little friends there watching the television. Oh, here he comes. And they're all like, look, he's a star now. Soap opera, $800 they paid us, you know. It was.
Welcome to the Food Programme. I'm Jaega Wise. This week we are talking Hollywood, prison and tacos with the one and only Danny Trejo. If you don't recognise the name, you will definitely recognise the face. Danny has a look that has made him perfect for playing tough guys, henchmen and convicts in hundreds of films. His trademark is his grimacing face and a huge tattoo of a woman on his chest. He's been in some of the most legendary action films of all time. Films like Con Air, starring alongside Nicolas Cage and John Malkovich. He also starred in his own Mexploitation films, Machete and Machete Kills, with his longtime collaborator and cousin, Robert Rodriguez. At 80 years old, he also owns a chain of taco restaurants, as well as various food brands, something a lot of celebrities are getting into these days. More on that later. It all sounds glamorous, but Danny's story isn't an easy one. He grew up taking drugs from a young age and going to some of the most notoriously violent prisons in America. Only through finding God and sobriety did he manage to turn his life story from a tragic one to one of the most legendary in Hollywood history. We met him in his latest franchise of Trejo's Tacos to talk to him about his life through food. So let's start from the very beginning. Would you be able to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Danny Trejo, and I'm an actor, an activist, a drug counselor, and I have a record label.
And a restaurateur.
And a restaurateur. I was saving that for the last. And we've just opened up a new restaurant right here on Portobello Road, and it's amazing, and I'm really happy with it.
So that's restaurant number
6.
6 for you, okay. And where are the others located?
And we got 5 in Hollywood. We're going to put 1 in Detroit and 1 here.
Okay, so why choose London?
Well, first of all, I've been here. I've been here in London 4 times. I did different movies here. I did The Muppets Most Wanted here, and I did it with Ray Liotta. Rest in peace. He's like my pal, and we had just a beautiful time. And really, This road, right, Portobello Road, if you had a beach right there, it would be Venice, California. And it's like on Saturdays and Sundays, when my son brought me here the first time, it was like just, people from all over the world. And that's the way Venice, California is.
I wanted to know how a Hollywood actor gets involved in the restaurant trade.
You know what? Everything good that has happened to me has happened as a direct result of helping someone out. We got offered a film that was what they call ultra low budget. It means that they're going to buy you a sandwich. And I was waiting for this other film that was coming down. And so I wasn't taking anything because I didn't want. And then my agent Gloria read the script and stuff and says, this might not be a bad idea. So we did this movie, right? And it turned into a trilogy. It turned into 3 movies: Badass, Badass on the Bayou. Great, everybody in the world saw it, right? And on the first movie, I met a producer, Ash Shaw, and who's actually from London. And he saw that I eat good food. I don't, I'm going to be 80. And Ash asked me, what's up? You eat really good, Daddy. I said, yeah, well, I got to stay in shape. He says, why don't you open a restaurant? Jokingly, I said, Trejo's Tacos. So on Badass on the Bayou, he brought me a business plan. And being the businessman that I am, I opened it and it had no murders in the first page, no killing, no bombing. I gave it to Gloria and said, see what it's got. And she said, it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. It's got a real good deal. I was okay. And we started one like 6 weeks later on La Brea.
6 weeks?
Huh?
6 weeks later?
Yeah, about 6 weeks.
Wow, so quick
Boom,
pace.
Yeah. And then it was about 6 months, we had another one. And now we've got this is going to be the 7th.
Because it was always a discussion between you and your mum, wasn't it? The thought of opening a restaurant.
My mom, we had what's tumultuous? I heard the word tumultuous.
Fractious.
Well, yeah, we had my dad actually took me away from my real mom when I was 3, and I tried to kill her. She tried to get me. And anyway, so my dad married my mom to take care of me, and I don't think she really wanted the job, but she loved my. So anyway, but she was a great cook, and that's when I realized that a lot of times in a relationship in the 50s, women almost became indentured servant, or I don't know, I'll take care of you, but this is what you got, and that's what but she kind of resented it, but if I came home at 2:30 in the morning, she'd get up and start cooking something, and she was a great cook. I mean, that was the one thing that people loved eating at my house, friends of mine, and so I learned a lot from her about cooking in Mexican families. Up to about the 18th, you have these really elaborate meals, and then after the 18th, you start with. This is called we mix it, and this is called out of the cupboard. It's just stuff that you put together, and she was a whiz at that. So when we started the restaurant, it's like they had tasting food, I had a recipe, taking all the bad, the lard and the stuff that we usually cook with, and took it all out, and it became very healthy.
Of course, Danny isn't the first Hollywood celebrity to be associated with restaurants. I wanted to talk to someone who knew a bit more of the history of big names getting involved in hospitality. Here is BBC entertainment reporter Colin Patterson.
Celebrity restaurants really boomed at exactly the same time as the franchise restaurant boomed. It was the late 60s, it was the late 70s, the idea of a franchise owning a brand that could go out around the country and be franchised out, and if it had a celebrity name attached to it, the belief was it had a head start against the other joints. So you ended up with a strange situation where someone like Tony Bennett, the singer, had his spaghetti house that was around the country, and he would do publicity stunts, him standing there next to the world's biggest box of spaghetti, somehow thinking that would entice people into the restaurant. And I think so much of this is about, you see Tony Bennett, he's a cool guy. You can imagine him sitting in the booth with his cocktail and a woman on one arm in a sharp suit, and somehow you think, despite the fact you're wearing shorts and flip-flops, if you turn up at the spaghetti house, you are going to adopt that mantle. A slightly more serious point was actually a lot of the black stars of the 1960s. I mean, the civil rights movement was going on, and they actually believed that investing in restaurants was a way of creating jobs for the black community. Muhammad Ali was a big believer in this, and he got involved with the franchise Champ Burger. And there was two. There was going to be lots more, but of course there was only two. But when you see the photos, this incredible kind of almost Art Deco outside with Champ Burger in huge letters. Muhammad Ali would, of course, turn up to try and generate interest, and he was paid $900,000 for the use of his name, and crucially, he got 1% of the royalties of the company's annual profits. And Muhammad Ali being Muhammad Ali, this is 1968, the most crucial year possibly in the civil rights movement. He wasn't boxing at this time because he'd refused to take the Vietnam draft, so he had a bit of time to concentrate on restaurants. And obviously a devout Muslim insisted that Champ Burger had Muslim-friendly food without pork or shellfish available. So he actually did get his beliefs onto the fast food restaurant menu. I've been to Michael Jordan's steakhouse in Chicago because I was going to see basketball and it felt kind of appropriate. And I just remember thinking, this is a little more expensive than I hoped it would be. And I think that is often the case with celebrity restaurants. You are kind of paying more just for the name. And remember, the name does not go in your mouth. One of the first ones in the UK was Michael Caine's investment in Langhans. It was a restaurant that he loved and then decided to get involved with it with the celebrity chef Richard Shepherd at the time. And he would attract in his celebrity pals. And when you look at the guest lists that were going to the restaurant at the start of the 80s, it was like Billy Connolly, Elizabeth Taylor, Francis Bacon, Ronnie Corbett. It's like the greatest blankety-blank lineup of all time in a restaurant. And there was something that just seemed otherworldly about it. All these stars in one place. And the way they sold it to the public was, you're not going to the show or coming back from the show. You are the show. You know, you are sitting there. You are being looked at by the audience. And people could have their moment of being a star in Mayfair at the restaurant. And it was a big success as well. Michael Caine made it as a restaurateur.
That was Colin Patterson, BBC Entertainment reporter. Back to Danny Trejo. I wanted to hear about his early life.
Tell us about Pacoima, where you grew up.
Pacoima in the 50s and 60s was probably the murder capital of Los Angeles. It was really a kind of shoot-'em-up place. You know, it's like guns first. And I had an uncle, my Uncle Gilbert, who was my idol and my mentor, you know, and she always had time for me, no matter what. So that was my guy, you know, I mean, and everybody in my family, all the guys were construction workers, and Gilbert was always like pressed, and I wanted to be like that, you know. I didn't care if he was dealing drugs. I didn't care what he was doing. I wanted to be like, and so I got turned on to grass when I was about 8 years old, and loved it. And I got a fix of heroin when I was 12, and I can't blame that on him. I caught him doing it, and I threatened to tell on him if he didn't give me some, and that was the beginning of my heavy drug use.
Machismo, as you can imagine, is very much a theme in Danny's life, and a lot of his autobiography deals with trying to unlearn some of those toxic ideas about masculinity he learned from his early life, including when eating spicy food.
Growing up, I can remember sitting at the table, and my dad, right, saying something like, don't eat this, it's for men. And, so in other words, he called me a little girl, right? Don't eat this, it's for men. So you would learn how to, like, eat this fire and break out in a sweat, but you wouldn't crack it. And so pretty soon you're like, I don't care. I ain't gonna ruin my dinner. And I honestly believe that chili, hot spices, it started with a guy that did it by accident. There was a couple of guys that, hey, look at this, what is that? I don't know. He burned the hell out of him, right? Hey, that's not bad. And he walked away. So this other guy, well,
if he can do it.
Yeah, you're right, not that bad. They wouldn't cop to this shit burns. So my mom was credited for making the hottest chili there was. So when the guys were all feeling like men, they would come over and they would like eat dinner at our house, and they'd all be eating this. Everybody be sweating and damn good.
Danny had started down a bad path, committing robberies and selling drugs, eventually ending in a 10-year prison sentence.
So you went to some of the most notorious prisons in San Quentin.
California, when I was young.
Yeah, so I read you literally went to most of them. What was that like?
I describe prison as a right now thing. You're not sure if there's going to be a tomorrow, because you've seen guys just flip out and start stabbing. You got to understand, that prisons are probably 10% of people that have to be there, 70% of people with mental illness, and the rest could have been handled in a drug rehab or, some kind of counseling.
In prison, you became a champion boxer. So how did you prepare? What did you eat to prepare? And were people giving you extra food? I mean, how does it work?
That's the thing. You just mentioned. Boxers, celebrities in a sense. You get to eat in the officers' dining hall a lot of times, the champions, So you get steak, you get eat pretty good. There's no longer boxing in prison. They've taken all the boxing out. They've taken all the weights out. In California, they've taken, basically, you can do exercise, but they've taken all the stuff out. And their rationalization was, well, we got guys coming out with 22-inch arms, and they're going out to the streets.
I read about, in your book, something called, and I know you're alcohol free, but I read about something called Pruno.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, what's Pruno?
Pruno is what you make in prison to substitute for booze, for alcohol. Pruno is prison booze, and we got really good at making hooch. There was some that was like delicious, other was like awful, and some of it, because you have to put yeast in it, and some of it was still bubbling. The yeast wasn't even done, and so. But you get wasted on it. It's a good way to get drunk. And
how do you make it?
Well, you get like strawberries, bananas, anything, any kind of fruit that you want. You put water, a lot of sugar, and then the yeast. The yeast cooks it, and that turns it into hooch, turns it into alcohol, basically. And it's funny because I speak in a lot of Narcotics Anonymous meetings and Alcoholics Anonymous meetings, and I'll say, especially in prisons, I'll say, look, I know a lot of you guys are having real trouble with, well, am I an addict or am I an alcoholic? And how many of you drank Pruno? And they say, yeah. Okay. Well, you're all damn alcoholics, okay? Because only a damn alcoholic drink that shit. And it's like they all just left because they know. Sometimes you drink and you're like, have to try to hold it down.
Danny has been sober now for over 50 years. His abstinence from alcohol means he's got involved with alcohol-free drinks, with his own brand of 0% tequila and a book on mocktails.
What was it like writing a drinks book, considering you don't drink?
First of all, it was a lot of fun, tasting stuff that tasted like a margarita or tasted like a, and I think I really wanted to do something to where people would not get uncomfortable in a nightclub or in a bar and if you order a Coke in a nightclub, everybody wants to know, are you an alcoholic? I mean, it's like, so if you order a mock margarita and nobody asks you any questions. So it made me a lot more comfortable. So many people are ordering, and so many bars are selling mock drinks now. So many clubs are selling mock drinks because there's people that don't drink. There's people that don't want to drink, but they love a club. They love the atmosphere and stuff. I do.
And here you have a really good alcohol-free cocktail selection.
Yeah.
It can be so often ignored, the alcohol-free drinks selection in a restaurant. So I was pregnant last year, and just having to go through 10 months, 11 months, 12 months, just not drinking. It was really, you really notice just how bad a lot of menus are for not taking it seriously enough. And I don't want to drink a sugary drink, particularly all the time. I don't want to drink a Coke all the time.
So I was just really glad that we finally did this, and it was like at our restaurant, people are buying mock drinks. Great, it's cool. I'm glad.
Prison is a place where limited resources mean that inmates have to be resourceful, and food can be a comfort in dark times.
I read in your book about a kind of like a potluck almost type situation. Yeah. I mean, what was that about?
Saturday and Sunday were visiting days. We got a lot of people that don't get visits, a lot of guys that don't get visits. So what they do is they bring something, somebody brings this, somebody brings that, somebody brings that, and we go out to the yard and we have a spread, a picnic. I don't want to say a picnic, but it's a spread. It's like everybody brings something. Some guys, they make a casserole out of Fritos and potato salad, and you mix them in devil fruit eggs, and it just kind of takes away the fact that you didn't get a visit. The young guys, a lot of the young guys get visits, but as you get older, people kind of give up on you, and you don't think about that. You just make do with the prison spread and your buddies and stuff.
And you do a huge amount of prison outreach, don't you?
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, why do you feel the need to still tap into helping that community?
I honest to God, when I was in the hole in Soledad in 1968, Cinco de Mayo, we had started a riot when I remember saying, Lord, if you let me die with dignity, I will say your name every day, and I will do whatever I can for my fellow inmate. I said inmate because no matter how it worked out, I wasn't getting out, And he gave me a jab. When I went to the parole board, Mad Dog Madden, that was his name. He said, Trejo, we're getting sick of you. And I said, well, that's a lovely way to start a conversation between two gentlemen. And he says, we're kicking you out of here. Bring us back a life sentence. Because I'd done 5 years, and I had 5 to go. And he said, we don't want to see you. Because on a 10-year sentence, you come up for board every year. So for them, it was just a waste of time, and they said, just bring us back a life sentence. And that way they don't have to deal with me for 25 years.
So you're in this position where you could either go down that path and come back or not.
That was the last time Danny went to prison. After finding God and sobriety, he was beginning to turn his life around.
I left prison. First I worked in a wrecking yard, the first job that I got. Second, then me and a kid named Danny Levitoff started a gardening business. That was 1969. I got out of prison, and I was still a drug counselor. The way I became an actor is one of the kids that I was working with, one of the guys that I was working with, called me up at about 11:30 at night and said, hey, Danny, there's a lot of blow down here on my job. And this was 1985. So cocaine was rampant all over the world. It was just crazy. I said, okay, where are you at? And he was at a warehouse in Dogtown. I thought he worked in a warehouse. I said, okay, well, I'll be down there a little bit. Yeah, hang on. So I went down. I walked onto the movie set of a movie called Runaway Train with John Voight and Eric Roberts. And I remember standing there and this guy saying, you want to be in this movie? And I said, what do I got to do? He said, do you want to be an extra? I said, extra what? He says, can you act like a convict? So I'll give it a shot. I thought it was a joke. And this older guy, look, I know this guy. Where do I know this guy from? And then he comes over and he says, hey, you're Danny Trejo. Yeah. He's Danny, I saw you in the lightweight and the welterweight title up in Quentin. I said, you're Eddie Bunker. Eddie Bunker was one of the most powerful inmates in San Quentin. And the reason was because he was the captain's clerk. He could type, he could write. He was a writer.
And he happens to be the screenwriter. On the movie.
Eddie Bunker. It's like unbelievable. And he says, hey, you know what? They need somebody to train one of the actors how to box. I started training an actor named Eric Roberts how to box for a movie, Runaway Train. Andrei Kozlowski, the director, right, was his first American movie. Midway through this film, Andrei comes up and he goes, you be in movie. You fight Eric in movie. And then he goes like this. Just like this. And you be my friend. When I found out what that old man did for me by getting me that SAG card, I'd have washed his back. You shower? Yeah, I got that, don't worry. I mean, I could, but it changed my life as far as my living status, for my money status, I mean, everything, you know, and I still thank God for that one.
So you've done over 300 movies, haven't you?
Yeah, a whole bunch, yeah.
So I think our audience will be curious to know, what does the lunch cart look like? What does the food look like on a movie set?
Well, it kind of depends. It depends. If you've got a low-budget movie, they're not going to splurge. You know, they're trying to feed you good, but not go over what they're supposed to spend. It's never bad food. It's never bad food. Sometimes it's just stuff I don't eat. You know, like fast food, processed food. I'll make it's easier for me to make like a really nice tuna salad at home. But people, you know, I'll just eat that during the day, or a chicken salad, you know, so that I don't have to burp all day.
London is famously a fantastic food city, like so incredible to eat here. Have you eaten some great meals here?
Absolutely, but right now I'm bringing like real Mexican food. That's
go on. Yeah, let's talk about the food. Go on. So what do you specialize in?
Yeah, you know what, tacos. I love the tacos. Are probably the easiest food in the world. You put anything, you know. I have a cauliflower taco that gets 5 yikes or 5 wipes or lumps or whatever. We get 5 of them.
5 stars.
And you know, we always get like, you know, our secret. Everybody says, what's your secret? It's good food.
Tacos in London has been a bit of a controversial subject, especially with Americans travelling here.
I'm Chloe Rose Crabtree. I'm a chef and food writer. I run a food research publication called Sourced that looks at the history of food and drink and the food systems. And then my personal research is in food and identity, kind of back off of my Los Angeles upbringing and my multicultural heritage.
For those who are not on food Twitter, could you explain the phenomenon of Americans complaining about tacos in London? What are they complaining about?
So as an American, I have been guilty of this. When I first moved to London, I moved to Paris first, which was even worse for tacos. And then I moved to London, and one of the things when I left LA that my family said to me was, where are you going to get tacos from? And I thought that was just because it's from Los Angeles and it's such a part of the city's like food landscape. But then when I moved and ran into other Americans, I found that they also were just looking for tacos all the time. And so people would trade, you know, they'd be like, there's this place in Surrey Keys that you can go to. There's these guys in Nettle Market that are making their own flour tortillas. Like it was sort of a word of mouth. Like if you knew where to go, and you also knew where to avoid. So it's this thing of it became sort of like a cultural currency that Americans would trade with one another, of showing how well they knew the city based on whether or not they had found their taco spot. Since living here for about 7 years, I've realized that is such a flat way to navigate London's foodscape.
So what did you decide to do?
So I am part of the team at a cafe in Stoke Newington called Bake Street, where we actually make tacos. So when I first started, one of the things that I started doing was making the corn tortillas from scratch, because being from Los Angeles, I never really had to make them from scratch. You can get them really easily and really good ones pretty much anywhere. And so it was this thing that I had thought there was sort of a gap in the London market for homemade tortillas that were easily accessible to me. So I decided I'd make them myself. And in the process, I also kind of started to think a bit about my own family's heritage and why certain culinary skills are passed down when others aren't.
Can you talk about how tacos became a symbol for Americans of authentic street food?
I think, if you look at the immigration pattern into the U.S., there's a huge Mexican immigrant community. And it's funny that now it's this thing that people look for, because I feel like growing up in the 90s and the early 2000s, there were a lot of my friends' parents who they wouldn't let their kids eat at a taco truck. There was worry about it not being safe or unhygienic, or, it was in an area of town that maybe you didn't want to go to. So I think that the Americans looking for that now is a huge part of people then going to Mexico as tourists, less so than having good Mexican food in their own cities. Since Mexico has become a really hot travel destination, with Oaxaca in particular being a top travel destination, I think like 3 years in a row ahead of the pandemic, people were going there and they were experiencing these really bright flavors, really like wonderful like street food scenes. And then they came back to London and realized that didn't exist here, without fully recognizing, well, we don't have enough sun and we don't have enough of these fresh ingredients to have that same experience, but they're looking for that. And so that's where you see what I think is like a new wave of Mexican cooking in London, which tends to be a bit more geared towards drinking and people who have a sense of feeling like they've gone to a cantina somewhere in the middle of Mexico.
So what do you say to Americans now that complain about British tacos?
I mean, I'm tempted to just hand them my apron and tell them to give it a go. But that, is not great customer service. So what I do say to them is I point out that we do have really good tacos here in London, but I also kind of steer them away from looking for Mexican food and instead remind them that there's like such a great Caribbean food scene here, West African food scene here. There's so many different immigration patterns that have come through London and the UK more generally. That it's quite boring to only be looking for tacos. Like there's so many foods that I've found here, like Nigerian food, that I wouldn't have gotten in the US, that now I know that I love, because actually a lot of the flavor profiles are really similar to Mexican cuisine, because if you look at global trade systems, those ingredients are all passing through the kind of same cycles. And so there's a lot of like shared taste nostalgia between them.
That was food writer and historian Chloe Rose Crabtree. Back with Danny, we are trying some of his food.
Here's the guacamole.
Okay.
Delicious.
Oh, and it's got pistachios on it.
Best
And a
guacamole
cheesy bean dip.
Would you be able to talk us through these dishes?
Yes, this is the guacamole. It's absolutely delicious. I can't tell you everything that's in it, but then I have to kill you. But but it's absolutely the best in the world, and that's from Anthony Bourdain. And stay away from the jalapeno. They're a little spicy.
So guacamole really is a Mexican restaurant signature dish. Mm-hmm. So did you have to work quite hard to get this one correct?
Mm-hmm. I love it.
What's the secret to good guacamole?
Well, getting the avocado one is just perfect. You can give them avocado when it's too ripe and it's gushy, or too green and it's really hard. Cut it when it's right, and then it's like, you mix it up when you're mixing it up. Like, we love jalapenos in it, but you can go around the jalapeno and it's nice and spicy. You can bite into the jalapeno and it's hot.
Trejo's Tacos got the seal of approval from one of the world's most respected eaters, the late Anthony Bourdain, in his TV show Parts Unknown.
Anthony Bourdain said he would not eat any place but at Trejo's Cantina in LA. I love that. And he was such a nice guy. And and boy, that guy can eat. I mean, he took a bite out of about 7 tacos. And I'm sorry to see him go, but he was, he had that addiction of alcohol, and that's what got him. And it's sad because, he was a great person. I mean, he was a really, really nice guy, but he loved our food.
What was it like filming with him?
He was cool. He was nice. Just some people are just nice. Some people are just friendly, and he just automatically offered that, and had he had no qualms about saying, no, I don't like this, but he did, so.
I read that John Wayne was one of your acting heroes.
Oh my God.
Who would you say is your food hero?
I did a show with, this guy with yells.
Oh, Gordon Ramsay.
Yeah, but he didn't yell at me. He was pretty cool.
Of course he didn't yell at you. Of course he didn't yell at you.
But he's pretty good with food. And when I was doing his show and I looked at him and when I was saying something, I could see him saying yeah, so I guess we were on the same page as far as taste, But he was pretty cool.
As we found out earlier, so many celebrity restaurants struggle to get past the initial hype of their launch. Why do they seem as popular as ever then? Colin Patterson, BBC Entertainment reporter again.
I was thinking as to why the celebrity restaurant is so popular when so many fold and are failures. I've got a theory in this. In Hollywood, there are two things celebrities really love, and it leads to them investing money in them. If you look at how many golf movies have been made over the decades, there are lots of them. None of them are hits, but the people that make movies like golf. Therefore, they make golf movies. People that make movies or star in them like restaurants. Therefore, they think, I know a bit about restaurants because I eat in them. As if that is enough of a business plan to invest your money. And that is why they invest in celebrity restaurants. Golf and restaurants, the two big follies of Hollywood. I mean, the first celebrity restaurants I remember as a kid would be Planet Hollywood, which looked like the most glamorous restaurant in the world to a 15-year-old when it happened, because Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone were investing in it, and they looked like two men who knew about food. Bruce Willis, I mean, these were the biggest action stars of the 1980s, and here they were at the start of the 90s, a new decade, moving into being restaurateurs. And for a while, it was a big success. I mean, it opened in New York in 91. The following year, it came to London, which seemed incredibly exciting. And one of the selling points was they would actually turn up occasionally at the restaurants. And it happened just enough that people would keep going. But as the decade went on, their interest in standing next to people eating fries and burgers kind of went down, and so did the profits. I mean, many celebrity restaurants have been disasters, leaving the stars choking on their food for a number of reasons. But there is really one shining example. Robert De Niro came upon Nobu Matsuhisa shortly after he moved to Los Angeles and opened his restaurant. Robert De Niro visited the restaurant and came up with the idea of bringing it to New York. And maybe it was the fact that they actually had a bit of a plan. They decided to establish themselves on the West Coast before going to the East Coast. And then when he came to New York, it was a sensation. It's still there. There are now more than 50 Nobus over more than 5 continents. And Robert De Niro arguably has been a better restaurateur than actor for the last 3 decades of his career.
Today I'm making fajitas for the family. Old El Paso style.
As well as appearing in hundreds of films, Danny has done a few adverts for food brands, including Old El Paso. I wanted to know what it was like filming for one of the most mainstream and iconic brands when it came to Mexican food.
That was unbelievable. We were down in Mexico, and it was like so much fun. And we did that in a house that the lady with the eyebrows, like
Frida.
Yeah, Frida. Her husband and the owner of this house, right, got drunk, and Frida got angry, right, and came and screamed at him and then left. And so he drew a picture of her naked, standing there naked, right? So when she came back, she actually stapled a dress on this naked, and it's there, you know. And the lady that was take care of the house was telling me, yeah, she came back and stapled that. And I thought, wow, I got to see that, you know what I mean? And but she, that's the house that we shot that commercial in. I did 2 of them. I did another one for Snickers, and it was a Super Bowl commercial.
Wow.
And more people watch the Super Bowl. That's like, you know, that's like the Oscars. Yeah. I mean, who got an Oscar last year? You don't know who was in the Super Bowl commercial. You know? And it was me and Steve Buscemi. And so commercials are like so much fun anyway, except for I ate about 20 Snickers. I love Snickers, probably why you end up with diabetes or something.
Oh, goodness me. Okay, so we're going to do some quick fire questions, some quick answers. Okay, you have a fantasy dinner party, 4 people. Who do you invite?
Oh, God.
They could be dead or alive.
Well, Danielle, Gilbert, Danny Boy, and Nick, my kids.
Your kids. Best meal in a foreign country?
Wow, the one I had last night here.
Good answer. Strangest thing you've ever eaten?
God, man. Let me see. I was in New York. I ate a spider.
You ate a spider?
Yeah, they had this funny, weird food kind of thing. And so I took a bite out of a tarantula or something. And then I did not a movie, it was that guy that goes all over the place. He hikes all over the place. And Gloria, who is that?
Bear Grylls.
Bear Grylls,
Bear
yeah.
Grylls.
Yeah, I ate a tarantula. Here, Danny.
I can imagine he'll get you eating also.
Here, Danny, have a bite. Yeah.
Oh, goodness. Do you prefer sweet, salty, or sour?
Sweet.
Do you have a signature dish that you cook at home?
I absolutely love Baja fish tacos. They're my favorite. That's my favorite. Now, because I love fishing and love sushi, but my Baja fish, it's delicious. It's unbelievable.
What dish reminds you of home?
God, I would have to say migas, which are tortillas cut up in tomato sauce mixed with scrambled eggs and a little bit of jack cheese.
Nice. Okay, and if you could only eat one more meal, so your last meal, what would it be?
$87 pounds of spaghetti. I think that would take me.
Fabulous.
I'm not done. That was great. Thank you.
No, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Danny, just what an absolute pleasure to talk to you. It's been fantastic hearing about your life, your loves through food.
Thank you so much. Thank you, and it's been a pleasure talking to you.
Life is full of what-ifs. Some awesome, like what if AI could fold your laundry? And some, well, less awesome, like what if you have unexpected medical costs? United Healthcare can help get you covered with Health Protector Guard fixed indemnity insurance plans. They supplement your primary plan to help you manage out-of-pocket costs. No deductibles, no enrollment periods, and especially no more what-ifs. Visit uh1.com to find the Health Protector Guard plan for you.
Quality sleep is essential. That's why the Sleep Number Smart Bed is designed for your ever-evolving sleep needs. Need a bed that's firmer or softer on either side? Helps you sleep at a comfortable temperature? Sleep Number Smart Beds let you individualize your comfort, so you sleep better together. J.D. Power ranks Sleep Number number 1 in customer satisfaction with mattresses purchased in-store. And now, save 50% on the Sleep Number Limited Edition Smart Bed for a limited time. For JD Power 2023 award information, visit jdpower.com/awards. Only at a Sleep Number store or sleepnumber.com.